Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining me for another episode of the Chris Andrew podcast. Today, I'm going to be joined by other members of Farmacy. Now, if you don't know, and I assume you don't, that's safe. I was at a songwriting camp in Norway last year, and the purpose of that songwriting camp was to create hits just for Eurovision. And we were thrown into intensive sessions, and one of the sessions I was in, there were a group of five of us, and we got through to San Marino's their own domestic competition for finding someone to represent them at Eurovision, Una Voce per San Marino. And we ended up making the semi-finals and had to go to San Marino and perform. And it was a very fun and quick and silly and stretch experience. I'm joined by today Tina Malmstrøm from Norway and Neli Jerot from Slovenia to talk about that whole experience and Eurovision more broadly. Hope you enjoy. All right, so me, Nelly, and Tina together, we formed Farmacy. We walked into a room in Rena in regional Norway, I guess 8 months ago or something, to write a Eurovision song explicitly. We had half a day or something to do it. And since then, as I mentioned, we went through to the semi-finals of San Marino, Una Voce per San Marino, where we got knocked out. And that was very recently. We're fresh off that experience. And I realized that I don't really know very much about either of you in your songwriting or your work at all. So I thought it'd be good to start talking about like what took you to Rena and did you get what you wanted from that? And do you even like, is Eurovision something you care about? Because some of the people at the camp didn't even know what it was.
You can go first.
Do you want to start? Okay, I'll go first then. When I saw the advertising for the Rena songwriting camp and I saw what you could write yourself up as, I was like, oh, this is a good opportunity for me to challenge myself as a producer, because I've only produced for my own projects or films and stuff like that. I've never been a producer for other artists. So I was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna challenge myself. So that's what got me to submit the form and everything for that camp.
And obviously it was a challenge, right? Because you have to, it's a crazy intense job. People might not know, but you have to do it sort of on the fly. You're listening to four other people's opinions and quickly trying to punch in everything. It's like a technical thing as well as a creative one.
Also, I submitted the form and I set myself up as producer/artist. So I thought maybe I would be just a producer for one day, but it was 3 days straight with just production. So it was quite intimidating because there was so many good producers in that camp. So yeah, but it was very challenging, but also I learned a lot through that just small amount of time.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, they actually asked me because they were short a couple producers, and they asked me to produce some sessions after the first day, and I said, I can do it, but please ask everybody else at the camp first. I just didn't want to do it at all. It's too intense. Nelly, what about you? What took you there?
Well, I mean, I've been kind of before that, mostly in K-pop and mainly doing a lot of K-pop songwriting camps. But I wanted to get more, just kind of expand. K-pop is great, but I want to expand and do other stuff as well. And so that kind of led me to go here. And then I also, I obviously follow Eurovision. And I've been applying in Slovenia for a couple of years. And yeah, I thought it'd be a good chance.
Tina, do you follow Eurovision or is this a thing to do?
Yeah, no, I've loved Eurovision since I was small. So I thought also the genre of Eurovision is so broad. You can do loads of stuff. So that's exciting in itself.
Yeah, that's a really fun thing for me to think about because now that we've done it, as in, had a hat in the ring and done a performance and gone and learned some things, I kind of don't know exactly what it has solved in terms of Like, I feel like if you play in a rock band and you go on the stage and you do a show and it goes well or doesn't, like you kind of take away what went well or what didn't. But like, because Eurovision is so genreless and so like, because it can be songs can be anything, like, and still be equally compelling. I'm not exactly sure what to take away from it. Have you had time to think about like the song that we did submit and like how you would go about doing something if you could do it all again, like for next year, what you would do?
Like the camp in itself or the song?
Not the camp, but like the process of writing something to submit. Like, say if you like, okay, next year you want to enter for MGP and be Norway's representative for Eurovision. Like, how would you go about that now? And is that different because of what you've just been through?
Maybe like next time around, I like as a producer, I would be more prepared with like presets that I know will work, if that makes sense. Because you sort of build like this sort of idea of what type of sounds people aim for at the Eurovision, if that makes sense. Even though it's very broad, it's still like, I would say it's very like often very dramatic or funny. So just like in terms of that, I would just be more prepared with presets and stuff like that.
So does that mean you went into these sessions with kind of like your infinite palette of instruments, but you'd have presets, like, so you could just have in mind like, oh, this is a go-to synth that I could do, or kick drum or whatever? Okay. Well, Nelly, what about you? Because you've been through the process of, you said you've written stuff for trying to be Slovenia's representative before.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think this song it's such a Eurovision song. I think it was right that it was represented on the Eurovision stage because it couldn't have been represented like in any other way. And it's a shame we didn't get through because I feel like it would have done really well on the Eurovision stage. But I think it really depends on the person or like kind of who you're writing for, obviously. But I think the thing that I would just kind of take away is, for me, the biggest thing is just be authentic in the song and the songwriting. And I think even this song, like, yes, it's silly, it's about sheep, but I think when we were writing it, we were being really authentic with like each other and just having fun. And that's why the song is so fun, because we had fun. I think that's kind of like the key thing that I would just take into any Eurovision song is like, be authentic. And I think we saw that in San Marino, like we were talking about it. A lot of the acts we could see when it was authentic and versus when it was not, when it was just like really well rehearsed, but it was like kind of boring to watch because there was just it wasn't genuine. So I think that's kind of the biggest thing I would take writing other Eurovision songs.
Yeah, I love that. I really, like you said, like from all the acts that we saw, I feel like you can smell it in the first 10 seconds or something if something's like authentic or not. And it puts a real ceiling on how good something can be, like no matter how good it mechanically is. Yeah, I think it's so often a conception as well, because our song was silly, that like that's not a legitimate or authentic way of presenting, like it's only through irony or something. I don't know, but like maybe this is a good pivot to talk about what it was like going into the session together, because I felt like, you know, we didn't have any preconception of what we were going to write. It wasn't like, let's do something that's going to sound like whatever because that's what does well in a competition. We just we're all to set the scene. It was the third day of the camp. We just had intensive, 15-hour days in sessions, and then this particular session was in half the time, and so we had to be twice as productive, which is funny. Like, to be productive in like creative sense is like a very different type of energy, and then we're all exhausted. For me, I felt like it was just like the front brain is switched off. Like, I'm just going to be, like present to whatever the mood of the group was. And it ended up, which is not rare for artists, but we ended up being pretty 5 distinct weirdos. So I think it was like pretty naturally in the middle of like all of us to keep feeding into this space. Yeah, I don't know. Does that sort of resonate with how you saw it, Tina? Does that resonate with how you felt?
Yeah, it's just, I just find it so fun because like I was really tired and just knocked out from 2 days of like being challenged with like producing like 2 ready demos like from the 2 other days. And then, yeah, when I said to you guys today, I want to make something trashy, I just don't want to make something serious. So I like, if you want to make a power ballad, get out of here. And I'm so glad none of you went out that door, because what happened then was just like, I don't know, silly magic. And it's just, I don't know, it warms my heart to think about it.
I love that the previous day you were working on like a song about the Ukraine war. Is that right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like it couldn't be more like of an intense pivot to have to do. I love it. Yeah. What about you, Nelly? The mind space in going into the room.
Yeah, I agree. I think, we had some really tough days, especially like the day before. You come out with a good song, but the team maybe doesn't click as well, and then it's like exhausting that in and of itself. And I went into there just kind of being like, I don't care. Like I'm gonna sit back. Like I'm gonna do, like, if anyone like comes and wants to like dominate, go ahead. I don't care. So it was really nice and refreshing that we were all kind of on the same page, while also I think being really ready to communicate and like say, oh, I don't think this is good. I think that's better. But it was never done in a way that would hurt anyone's feelings or whatever. We were just very like compatible, I think, in all our opinions, and it went so smoothly.
It's so nice when that happens. I also had some sessions in the thing that had that sort of just a little bit blockaded in the movement, and yeah, it was so refreshing to be in a smooth one. I just remember because the job was we had to have the chorus by lunch, so Karl Heinrich, who runs the camp, happened to come into our room to check how we were doing. Do you remember this? And he said do a performance, and you're like, Chris, do the chorus. I'm like, we had like 10 words down or something like that. I mean, maybe we have more, but for the chorus, I don't think there was much. I remember I did it. It was like, ram lam a ding dong, in the fucking roll strong, got the hottest place son, come and get your sheep bone, ram lam a ding dong, ram lam a ding dong. And he went to the whiteboard like a teacher and he wrote out, he was like, and it's like, it's quite a vulnerable thing to share a weirdo thing like that for the first time. Or, it's vulnerable to share any creative thing as you're doing it. But obviously he's been in, a million of those rooms and knows exactly what's happening. And, he went to the board and he's like, no. If you're going to do it, no, it can't be like that. And I thought he was just going to say, this doesn't make sense, doesn't flow, it's not conceptually strong or something. And he wrote out on the board, Ramalama Ding Dong. And he said, no, you can't just go Ramalama Ding Dong, Ramalama Ding Dong. You got to go Ramalama Ding Dong, Ramalama Ding Dong, Ramalama Ding Dong. There's your chorus. And I'm like, yeah, this guy, he knows what he's doing. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that, just like kind of just saying like repetition. Like you need to like do repetition. And I think, didn't he come like twice? Like the first time he was like kind of hinting like repetition. That's why we did like the Ramalama Ding Dong. And then he came again.
Is
he
that
was
right?
like, and then like he came again. He was like, just do it more. Just do it more. Because people weren't doing enough repetitions in the other sessions. They were like, okay, good for us. We don't have to write the lyrics. Perfect.
Yeah, it's cool. Then what about you next year for Nelly? For you next year, Nelly, because you want to enter for Slovenia, I assume, again. Like, do you think that you would go into like a room with strangers to write something for yourself? Do you feel like you could wrangle it independently, or like how do you imagine doing it?
I mean, I definitely want to do it with other people, because I do think, it's better, like more heads is better than one. And, I can always kind of, I feel like in a creative space, you're always better together because, it's meant like you're meant to create stuff with other people. But I think because I've done it alone in the past, and I've done it with people who are really good, but like I'm not that close to in like a friendly sense, and they're like amazing to work with, but it's just not that connected. And then I've done it with people who I'm close to, but artistically we don't really connect. So for next year, I definitely want to do it with people maybe like you guys, like who who understand me, who get me, and like who I know would respect my artistic vision, but at the same time kind of give me advice, if that makes sense. So I'd want to do like that.
That's nice that you would think of working with us again. Let's do it. Let's do it live now. Repetition.
Yeah.
That's my advice. Repetition.
Yeah.
Okay, then let's move back into the San Marino experience. Firstly, like, is there anything that's like a stark takeaway for either of you from it that like maybe you weren't expecting to experience from doing it? Because just to fill in the blanks for, we had to go there at fairly short notice. Like I don't think we were expecting to get to such an advanced round. And then, suddenly we now have to not only perform the song that, we probably that was a stretch to perform in the studio on the day, but in terms of breath work and like learning all the syllables and the words and things like that. But we also need to perform it on stage competitively and, be an act and all those other things. And it's only 2 minutes and 20 seconds or whatever it is ultimately on stage. So it's a tiny part of like a lot of work as an experience. So then, yeah, like what stood out, if anything?
I just want to say the fact that we're an international group and we practiced online through just watching like a video from Neli. It's like practicing in such a short time space. It's like, yeah, like we did really good for the short amount of time that we had, if that makes sense. So I just want to say that I'm very proud of us. I'm very proud of you guys.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of, what I'm left with, that I'm very proud that we actually went out and did it, considering all the factors that were sort of against us, if that makes sense. Yeah.
It was a very wild brief, and I don't think anyone else there was in the same shoes. Yeah.
No, for sure not. And I wasn't 100% sure we were going to do it. I'm not going to lie. I thought we were going to because we were like, should we not? It's expensive. Should we? So I was like, when we were driving, I was like, we're really doing this. So
well, that's another nice alignment because of Alessia and Julia, who were the other two writers in on the session, they felt that they couldn't do it, for perfectly normal and obvious reasons, I guess. And then so I think that ended up making a really nice, like you, Nelly, I thought, oh, well, it's going to be hard to pull this off. But then once the three of us were in, like the chances to pull out like reasonably and not be considered like being unfair or like, were so like, there were so many gateway points that like it would have been completely reasonable for all three of us or all five of us to pull out. And so the fact that three of us sailed through those gates was really an indication to me. Like, oh wow, we're really committed to doing this here, which I think meant that we were able to pull it off in the sense that we, did turn up and give a performance and, had the song to do it all. It was like, yeah, it's really something. But I can see why most people live with the other artists that they work with, or like, or didn't have to didn't have to fly from Norway and drive from Hungary.
Yeah, because it was quite like it was quite clear that all the other acts, they had practiced for a much longer time than us. But like, that's why I'm saying I'm so proud of us for like, yeah, all the odds were against us and we still did it. And I think we did fine and we had fun. I hope you had fun. I had fun. So yeah.
Yeah, that was my biggest like takeaway, was basically you guys. Something that kind of really stuck with me when you were like there right before we went on stage. When Chris, you said, you were like, I don't know if you were kidding or not, but you were like, we have something like they don't, that's something really special, and we have like genuine friendship. And I was like, we do. And like, we were also talking, I was thinking about this today. It was kind of fate that we got randomly put in together at camp, and we clicked just so well, because we were also talking about this with Tina, how we kind of don't know that much about each other. I mean, we do now, like we know more, but like
not at all.
But like we also we're so comfortable with each other because we click and we can just be like quiet staring at a wall, and it's like not going to be awkward, and just like do our own thing. Like it's like we've known each other for years, and I think that's really hard to come by. Or we can like talk for hours, like on a 6-hour car ride. Like it's not, it's like,
yeah. And I wasn't even like slightly afraid of that going in. Normally I think, if you have to do a 6-hour car ride with anyone, you sort of it would enter your mind with like, oh, I hope it's not too boring, or like, we could get on along or whatever. And it didn't even cross my mind that it would be anything other than smooth. It was super fun. And we did it twice. And also like just the time that you and I nearly spent in the car alone is more than all the time that we'd spent together previously.
Yeah.
like, in
Yeah.
entire lives, which is like, it's crazy how quickly you do get to find out, you get to sort of like bond with people in creative sessions, because you have to be so vulnerable, and then or you're not vulnerable, and I just think you learn a lot very quickly about each other, and yeah, you sort of like you get more surface area of interaction that like means that you can feel safe or whatever it is. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm glad you brought that up.
yeah, when I met you guys, like after your drive, it was like looking at a brother and a sister, like bickering with each other.
Because we were arguing.
Yeah. So that was quite fun to see. Like after just a 6-hour drive, it's like, yeah.
Forced to be friends. No, I'm kidding.
No, but it's like, but then, you know, I'm really looking forward to making more stuff with both either of you, you know, and Julia and Alessia too, if they're up for doing stuff like,
Yeah.
like it's, yeah, because we had dinner at the hostel and came up with an idea for another song, and I just like wholeheartedly am like, yeah, like whatever that is, like let's find it. It's nice to be at a, yeah, I mean, always with the nascent stage of any creative project or like anything. It's just so nice because it's so nice to have something that's not bounded by expectation in the way that things can become. If you're like, you know, if we were putting out a 15th song, it'd be like, oh, well, this is what people like to have, or, you know, we know what the stage looks like or whatever, but there's kind of an infinite playground at the moment, which is why those song camps are so good, because, I mean, they could cut both ways, obviously, because you could end up with incompatible personalities, but, yeah, when they do work, they work so well. Yeah, I would do 1 million of them, but they're too expensive.
Yes.
Indeed. That was actually my first like songwriting camp ever. I've never been to one before Rena.
Really?
Cool.
Well,
Was it scary?
it was a little bit intimidating at first when I got to know that I had to produce all of the days, but eventually, like, I feel very lucky with my groups, because I don't feel like I ever had like a group that was like stagnated, or do you get what I mean? Nothing. I feel like there was a smooth flow in all the groups. It was very different groups, but it was a smooth flow in all of them. But what do I know? Most of the times I was just like in my headset producing. So
Then
They're
just
all
fighting behind
fighting each
you.
other.
Yeah.
Exactly.
it could be. I wouldn't notice. I was just making beats.
Yeah, but that's like, you're a part of that smooth progress for sure. Like, you know, there's no way that's a coincidence. And it felt like that in our room. Like, I felt like there's always like space to come up with something, but then also at the same time, the structure to continue. I won't go too much into the details because maybe that's not interesting to everybody. But one thing that I think is interesting is because I have done a bunch of these camps in the past and been involved in putting them on myself in different elements. And always, like, whenever I'm putting them on something, I notice is that no matter, like, at some point across the period of the days or whatever, as many as everybody will come up to me and we'll be interacting as friends or whatever, and they'll confide in me. They'll be like, I just don't deserve to be here. I like, everybody else here is so good. I'm just not that good. And it's like, for me, that's kind of like sometimes a sign that the right people are there, because you don't want people I mean, maybe you do if you're like working with, like, I don't know, Mark Ronson, and you need to get something done or whatever. Like, you want someone to come in the room like, I know exactly who I am and I'm the best and this is how we're going to do it. But I even then, I don't genuinely believe that. Like, you really do want to have like that sort of openness, and yeah, it's a shame that the other way to describe that would be like, you know, like an insecurity or whatever. But maybe it's just the uncertainty or something. I don't know. What do you guys think? Nelly, you've done more sessions with the K-pop and things like that.
I mean, yeah, I agree. I mean, you know, like the last day I was like crying too, like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm not good enough. I don't want to show my stuff. Like in the hotel when everyone left and you're like showing stuff, like, eh. But yeah, I mean, I think, you know, now being clear-headed, I think I read a really good quote, you know, the more you learn, the less you think you know. So I think it's definitely a good sign. And, if I compare my stuff from 3 years ago, it's like so much better now, but I still feel like I have so much to learn and go. And I still feel like I'm a newbie, even though I'm not really, I've progressed so much. But yeah, for sure. I think it's a really big thing of what they also said at the beginning of camp is leave your ego at the door, which is a really big thing, I think, in songwriting and any creative process, really.
Agree. And also, it seems like they were, at least on that camp, I don't know with other songwriting camps, but like the value of an idea, a good idea, they were sort of valuing that higher than like that it had to be like perfect songwriting, perfect vocals, perfect production. Because my technical skills are not perfect yet. I'm getting there, but like they're not on par with a lot of the other producers who were like far more advanced than me. But still, our song got shown. So, I think the value of an idea.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that was something that I really saw at the Una Voce because, like the ones that stood out, like I think that it's such a cruel thing because if you think about like what a Eurovision song is, like if you had to sit down right now and write, and somebody said to you, write the song that is gonna win Eurovision next year, like, you could easily write something that would look like sort of the aggregate of well-performing songs, or like, I'm sorry, not easily, but like you could aim towards that. And I think, but that's so often just the shittest possible way to do it. And I feel like I saw that a couple of times, at Una Voce because if someone comes out and, I hope they're not watching because I don't want to pick on them, but if you come out and you like look like you do what Lady Gaga at her, soaring best is going to put in a competitive act for Eurovision, no doubt, very colorful, lots of movement, excitement, catchy songs. But if you go out there and do that and you don't embody that naturally, or it's like, then it just feels like looking at at like an automaton or something. It doesn't, and even if it's done really well and you sing and dance really well, if there's not some, I don't know, some real, that authentic connection to the center. And I felt like I saw a lot of acts like that. Maybe we're in a lucky position because we did get to see, most people only follow the finals of Eurovision, at which point you're watching like, well-produced acts that have resonated and already passed a lot of rungs of people loving them in some way or another. Whereas we got to see the ones that maybe potentially could be as good in a sense or have as much potential, but are unloved or are missing some key element. Did you have any other reflections from watching the act?
I really loved some of them. Like I thought a lot of the acts were great. And
what made them great? The ones that you liked?
I guess I just liked the songs in themselves, if you get what I mean. So maybe like their performance wasn't like Eurovision like we know it, but it was still like a good song, if you get what I mean. So
one of my favorite performances from Eurovision all time is like an objectively bad performance. Like it's not sung with any energy or in key or anything. It's just the concept and everything is just so like playful to me that I just love it. It's Sebastian Tellier in 2007, I think, or whatever it is. But yeah, I mean, like I'm sure it did badly. Like in a lot of ways, it sucks, but it stood out to me for like decades now. Yeah. So I don't think you need to be like, you don't need to be able to dance and sing like Beyonce to do something incredible.
Yeah. I mean, well, we do need to point out that from the people that went through in our semifinal, we missed all of their performances.
Yeah.
So we have no idea what the songs are like.
No, I'm sure we got like one or two of them.
Not from, I mean, I didn't. I don't know if you did. I know I didn't.
I think I did like the rock band. I think I saw a little bit of the Rumpled. And are we supposed to say that? Is it like...
this will be coming out after. That's right.
I mean, they're announcing them on the 25th of February.
Yeah, this is I mean, it's already after the 25th of February.
Okay.
In Chris Andrew podcast land.
Okay, great.
Okay, cool.
Are you
Yeah.
spilling the spoiler?
Yeah, it's spilling the tea. And I'm already like, I'm going in the newspaper soon with like, yeah, we didn't get through and stuff like that. We've already made that public, so I guess it's good.
Yeah.
And I think I catch a little bit of that rock band, The Rumpled. They were good. And we didn't get to see like the first place winner, but I feel like...
But she was really nice. She told us we look nice.
Yeah, she has really good taste
Yeah.
and eyesight.
She was nice. But yeah, I guess it was like if we had more information about the times that we would be on so we could get some proper food before we started.
I mean, yeah.
Because I feel like the reason we sat a little bit backstage was because we were exhausted. And I think that was like lack of food, lack of sleep. And yeah, traveling. You two had been traveling like the day before and then arriving. And yeah, I can't imagine how exhausted you two were.
Chris the most, probably.
Yeah, I think I left the house at 5:40 a.m. and then arrived in San Marino at 8:30 p.m. And then we hung out and then
at 1 a.m.
rehearsed, went to bed at 1, whatever. And then we had to be there at 8:30 in costume.
Yeah. But we didn't even have to be in costume.
But that's the thing. And we didn't even have to be there at 8:30. Like, yeah, I mean, whatever. We don't need to go into that. This is not a criticism of the organizational communication.
Yeah.
That's the thing. But yeah, that stuff for sure does add up in different ways. But what about separately to this? Because I've listened to some of your work, Tina. I've subscribed to you on YouTube. Yeah. Like, do you? But obviously, like the stuff that we make as individuals outside of, this and what we've been doing is not like, not written for Eurovision and etc. Like, what's the difference in like the process and or what you're even trying to do with it?
Well, I guess with my own sort of stuff, it's like I get more time. That's a big factor because I get more time to think about like the concept as a whole. And just like, and I get time to fine tune details. So yeah, time is a big factor for me. But also like when it comes to genre, I wouldn't say my music is very Eurovision-y. It's still colorful, but it's not, I don't know, it's not epic enough, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that was the thing they kept hammering home at the camp to do something extra because it's go big. But I don't even want to talk about it relative to Eurovision. I'm just interested to hear like what the differences in processes because time. You just said it as though it's like it's as I mean I'm hearing it as though it's a good thing, but cuts both ways, right? Because if you have too much time, you can end up like there's always more you can do on any song. Like a song is never finishing a song is a decision. It's not like painting a fence where you can see that it's done.
Yeah, no. So like I actually like when I had an interview today with the newspaper, she asked me how long does it take for you to finish a song, and then I was just like, crap. It takes me 6 to 12 months to finish a song from like the starting point of writing it and then to all like the fine tunings and production and everything. But that's because I jump between projects a lot. Like it's not like I don't just have one song that I'm working on. It's like 12. So obviously it's going to take a bit more time for me, but I think that's also good that I really get to, I don't know, sink into my craft, if that makes sense. But I really wish I had some more pressure. If I had like a team or someone expecting something from me, I could speed up like twice as fast as I am working now. But right now it's just me and I'm like, you have time, girl. It's okay. Don't worry. But actually, it would be nice with some pressure. What about you, Nelly?
My songwriting, like for me, versus, I mean, it's like when you write for others, I feel like on one hand, it's not as much pressure because you can write a good song, but it just, it doesn't have to be for you. You know what I mean? Like you can be like, oh, that's a good song, but I wouldn't release it as an artist. But there's a lot of, for me, there's a lot of time pressure because like K-pop deadlines are very tight. It's like a week turnover or like even less.
I've heard that.
Where you get the brief, you have to write it and everything, and then send it over. So that sometimes I wish I had more time because it sometimes takes the joy out of it because it's like way too stressful because it's not like music and songwriting is not the only thing I do. I have like, school, I have my job. And so it's like sometimes kind of hard to fit it in. But for myself, I've been kind of putting it off just because the things that I have out, I don't really like. I don't think they represent me or who I am as an artist or what I want to do. So, and then, then it's like the whole thing, I'm putting it off and procrastinating and then like, fine tuning but like I do it too much. And I'm like, nothing's good enough. Like this isn't so, yeah, I need to kind of put that time pressure on myself and just kind of decide, like you said, Chris, it's a decision.
And like Tina said, that's where the collaborations can be so good because, you're accountable to someone else or like, I don't know, even just Neli on the Instagram, our Instagram, you said how it was like an exercise for you to let go from like, the controlling all the elements of it because, you would prefer, I guess, instinctively prefer to, steer how everything goes so it can be consistent. And then I will come in and I'm pretty chaotic. So I'll just like add something that's probably totally off brand or like not considered or whatever. But, that, we're mutually bringing something in that dynamic that leads some forward momentum of a different kind of something that we couldn't achieve as individuals. And that's also true, but, then with Tina as well, that's three things and of making decisions and doing processes and how do we float things out. It's so fun how extraordinarily different like the same person can end up, that the work that they can end up making is in different dynamics, even just in a different environment of like, this is your K-pop box. You have 1 week. You have to finish a song now and produce it versus your own project where you're like, well, I can't, I'm not comfortable with anything yet to put out. Would you share something of yours with our listeners that I can append to the end of this episode, just as a little gift? Is that too much to ask?
Do I have some?
I'm asking
like
Nelly,
unreleased?
but I'm already definitely putting something. Yours is in the public domain, Tina. I don't have to ask you. I can just yank it and put it there myself. But I'll ask.
Like
But
unreleased?
yeah, actually, can you think about it? Yeah. Would you put something that's unreleased, a snippet of it for people to listen to?
Yeah, for sure. I can do that. I would love to.
Tina, would you do the same? I'll commit to doing the same. So then all three of us are being vulnerable.
Something unreleased. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
There's something, but it's not. Do I have to say that it's not finished yet? No, I don't have to.
You don't have to. Yeah.
Oh, I can maybe like, do we want like things that we want out as artists or like, because I have a past Eurovision entry that I do actually like, that I thought was at least gonna like come through, but it didn't go anywhere.
Yeah,
sad.
If you want it to be heard by people, then definitely that's a great way to do it.
If I want to be heard?
If you want people to hear it, if you're like, oh, I made
you
this song,
said
it was
heard,
sad.
like,
No one...
heard, like they're gonna tear me apart with their criticism.
Yes, it's a brutal audience. Okay, that's good. Then, okay, so at the end of this episode, we're going to be hearing Neli's previous Eurovision entry, something unreleased from Tina. I'll tack on something unreleased or a work in progress from myself. And then also, obviously, we'll have a crowning glory of playing Bad again for everyone, because that should be heard at all times. Then what about any other final thoughts about the whole experience or what you hope to be doing in the future? Because I'll start. I'm still not exactly sure what the specifics are of what I learned from it. But the main thing is I feel pretty validated and like comfortable in my own natural instincts for what I think I like or don't like, or what I think I can do well or not well, or what works in the spaces and doesn't. I mean, it was a bit in terms of specific tests, it's a bit hard to know. Like I share your instinct, Nelly, and I think Tina, you think as well that that what we had would have been a really good Eurovision offering, but it's hard to tell that from the experience that we had because we were performing it, in with a few headwinds, but also in an environment where we're performing it to silent judges and to a room of, maybe the 30 hangers-on artists that are just curiously checking stuff out while being occupied with their own performances coming up or has just been. So then it's not like it's not to put your hands in the air and everybody's excited or whatever. Like everyone just gives sort of a token applause at the end of each performance, which is not how you want to be received when you're doing something extremely silly and upbeat. But so we didn't get so much information in that regards. But generally, yeah, that's my main takeaway is I just feel confident and excited about going into more rounds and doing more iterations of exactly the same because I feel like, what a fun arena it is to be in. Yeah. And to mechanically, there'll be hundreds of small things I would have learned just about like what the processes even look like or feel like to be a part of. But what about you guys? What are your major impressions? Tina, beginning with you.
Major impressions from this whole experience. I've definitely gained some confidence as a producer. So
you deserve it.
That's like one of the main things that like I got something through, and it's like, oh, I might not be the most technical best person yet, but I still got something through, and we got to the semifinal, which is like nice, and I've learned a lot about like teamwork and how much you can like how much you are able to do, even though, yeah, as I said before, the odds are against you, but we were able to do so much in a short amount of time. And it's just, yeah, it just shows how capable we are of doing stuff, even though things are not like perfectly aligned for it to happen. You can make it happen. So I guess it's like, yeah, just hope. I guess I got like hope for the future and like belief and faith that things can go right if you put your minds together. And, yeah, that's my main like takeaway from this.
I love that.
For me, I think like two things. One is kind of, I think in these past 2 weeks, like leading up to it, even though they were very, very chaotic, I don't know, I just kind of felt like, oh, like this is what it feels like, to be kind of like an artist full time. Like, yes, everything's going on, but because I don't know, I didn't have that much time to like procrastinate and like to bed rot and whatnot, and just kind of sparked something back inside of me. I don't know, like even though it was exhausting, it kind of lifted me up in a way. Because I was excited to do it, and I was like, by the end of it, I was like, oh, like this is nice. And when we were driving home, I was like, my heart is really full. I got to do, something I love with people I love, and there's a beautiful sunset, and I just felt really happy. And then the other thing is also, after we were done, we were like let's make songs together. And when we were talking about making another song, it was like so nice and kind of funny to me how like Farmacy was kind of made as a joke. It was just like supposed to be a group name for the songwriting group. But now I feel like it could be an actual, project or group, and to like you said, be a playground for all of us to kind of make stuff that maybe we wouldn't make as individuals, but we can literally do whatever. So I'm excited for that to kind of be. I'm excited for more projects by Farmacy.
Yeah, I've been. I'll harass you in the group chat, more specifically, but I've been thinking, just in idle moments, like once you do create like a field or whatever, and put the fence around it and have, okay, I know that you guys are in this and this is what our skills are, or whatever. I've already started, seeds have started popping up. Like, oh, well, this would be good, this would be good, and we could do this, and how about we write like this or do, whatever. Yeah. I love also that observation about how much we were able to get done in that short period of time, like in very adverse situation. Like I've got two kids at home, like 3 months old and 2 years old. I have like no time. Like I have no time for doing anything normal for myself. And it was so confidence restoring to see, because the inducement of like, oh, we're about a 1 in 1,000 chance of ending up at Eurovision here. That's pretty incredible. And in fact, it was probably higher. The carrot's so irrefutable that like it makes you realize how much you can do if you don't even give yourself time to doubt the capacity to do it. You're just like, oh, okay, how am I going to get this done? I have to rearrange everything now to figure it out. And, like obviously it involves support of others, etc. But it's great. I'm really excited about the future. All right, Neli, tell us about this song that we're about to hear. I'll play yours first.
Okay, well, it's a ballad, and it's called Home, and it was kind of written, it has double meaning. So home as in my country, because I've always been like, should I leave? And, because the music industry in Slovenia is a bit smaller, so should I leave? Should I stay? And then the other part is about my grandpa, so about a person being your home. So it's mainly in English, but the bridge is in Slovene, and it's like the bridge is specifically dedicated to my grandpa. And that year he actually had an accident in the forest, so we didn't know if he would make it or not. So it was like a pretty emotional song to make.
Thanks so much for sharing with us. Tina, what are you going to play?
So my song is called Slay, and it's actually just about like beating the odds when they are against you. Just slay,
I love it.
Yeah.
I am going to play a song called Empty Fairy Tales, which is, what is it about? I mean, it's very explicit in its lyrics, so you'll catch the meaning. But it's about it's like a totem to remind myself that it's easy to get lost in narratives of how you're meant to be, but you're already enough. Those other things don't need to prove anything. Yeah, great. All right. Well, what a pleasure, Neli and Tina. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm sure we'll talk again. I'll put your socials and everything in the descriptions everywhere so that people can follow your work. And hopefully by the time this is out, our song is also listenable on all streaming platforms down the internet, and we're so rich that we'll never talk to each other again. If I understand the music business correctly.
Yeah. Of course.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Total pleasure.
When the world is against you and so are the odds, trouble keeps on coming forth. Raise your head and take control. Show them who you really are. It's easy. You just gotta slay. 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 Breathing in, breathing out, what I'm feeling. Dewdrops in my eyes as they wash off yesterday. Feelings I've had hold me back. But I can't
breath I burn away, but I'm never chasing what I need to find, a way to be enough. It's easy to see that we're all frail. The places I hide are the places I fail. We never run to what we never see, and it's more than just an empty memory that we could be enough. I get lost in empty fairy tales. On these broken wings I fly away, and the more I move, the less I move at all. Never seem to move at all. And who knows what we're hoping to find. We know we'll all fade away in time. When we stand and crumble with our hands to the sky, do we think to ask, is this enough? We choose to fight and we choose to fail, and we meet our fall trying to have it all where we could have enough. Where I choose to hide, I choose to fail, and to think I thought that I should choose it all, as though I'm not enough. But we fail to run from what we failed to see, and it's more than just an empty memory that we could be enough.
Thanks so much. I hope you enjoyed hearing from those sweeties as much as I enjoyed talking to them. Those tunes, that was a Slay from Tina Janina, and before that we had Home by Neli Jerot. And actually at the end was me with Empty Fairy Tales. Thanks so much for listening, but also extra thanks to my patrons. I couldn't do this without you. If you want to jump on board, there's some extra, you get some extra sweet bonuses, but mainly you just get the fuzzy feeling of being part of a movement. Jump over to patreon.com/Andry, and yeah, you can do it for as little as I think it's like $5 a month or something like that. And really, you won't, that's a rounding error. I'm sure you just drop that type of money down your couch. What I'm saying is, suck it out of your couch and send it to me so that I can get some more books for my bookshelf behind my head. All right. Thanks so much. See you next time.